Hey, shout out to HealthBot for posting this video. Just sitting here a few minutes while I'm waiting for someone to complete a mission, hopefully. But I felt that I needed to record something, a response, a raw one. I'm not going to be super raw. But while the feeling is there, I want to actually record this. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Eric Jarman, and I grew up in the 5 boroughs of New York City and Queens. Pretty good childhood. Was no way, shape, or form restricted in being a young man. I had a blast. Didn't know what I was missing, even though there were some deficits in my life. My mother raised me to not feel like I was missing anything. Had loving grandparents, maternal. Went through elementary school in New York City and did a stint in Inglewood, California, 5th grade, only to come back for 7th to graduation of high school back in New York City. I want to say that my mother, she fought real hard to protect me, protect my mind and body. And I will say that based upon the science, which was not there, she did a hell of a job, okay? You have, in the 1970s, you have New York City used to be one of the best places to get educated school-wise. Performance. Yeah, we had our tiers too, as well. But what was certain was that we were actually getting an education, well-rounded. Now, from time to time, I got bored, probably like a lot of other boys and girls. I can't really speak for girls, but I've found myself cutting class, and I remember getting in trouble mostly for sticking up for other students who were being bullied. And I got suspended every year in the one school, public school 135. And Mr. Lenahan, who seemed like he was 7 feet tall, but he was pressuring my mother. He was pressuring my mother to send me to therapy, and then therapy and/or probably through the school. They tried to get my mom to accept putting me on Adderall, and she said no. My mom was wise. She was smart. You know, they thought she'd probably be a pushover being a single mom. African American at that. But no, she wasn't. Mother was a quiet storm. So the reason why I bring that up was because of HealthBot's posting of a video on Adderall. You see, moving forward, I think I turned out, personality-wise, pretty decently. Well-adjusted. Never had any vices. And I think most people would consider my views today as being conservative, whereas my views are actually based on how I grew up, religious-wise, Bible principles, laws and principles. Very familiar phrase growing up. Black and white, laws, principles, use your mind, use your brain, okay? That's how I grew up. Now, moving forward, this child of 1969 is married with 2 little boys. The pieces are being picked up from the tech bubble bursting, which for any of you who don't know, it actually burst in March of 2000. If you go back and look at the charts, I had no knowledge of this back then, of the charts, Forex charts I'm talking about. And it's funny, that was the month that I accepted a headhunter's package and moved my family. And within 18 months, things had really took a downturn. We were not in New York City, but we're in one of these areas, as far as like tech goes, that is considered like second best when it comes to like opportunities for recovery, etc. So areas like that would take a year and change to actually recover more than, say, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. You get the idea. But in any event, had returned from that area. Won't really get into that. And we were back in another similar area where we had gotten married. And this is my ex-wife and I. And decided to matriculate back into college. Now, mind you, I had academically speaking, the only thing that I was quote unquote weak on growing up was mathematics, and that's because I didn't practice it. I didn't know how to see. I didn't know how to learn mathematics back then. All right, I didn't know how to take notes to be able to preserve. Okay, so I took some advice and I went to an educational psychologist. We'll just call him by his first name, Tony. Okay. And Tony had a past with my wife and I guess mom and dad when she was growing up, my ex-wife. Okay. So yeah, he was still practicing. And I told him while I was there, I said, I think that I suck in math, and I was deadly serious about making sure that I would have all my ducks in a row to not stop me. So he decides to give me a test. And then later on, I get the testing results back, and he says that I had ADHD, attentive type. What the hell is that? Okay. So I learned what that was. And then he suggested that I would take a psychostimulant, not unlike a lot of college students who were supposedly getting good results were, okay? They had powers of concentration and they had good grades. Yeah. I bought that line, hook, line, and sinker. So, mind you, I had never been drunk a day in my life up until that point. Never did any drugs, okay? Except for high blood pressure medicine, all right? I was morally opposed to anything like that. So now, back to this HealthBot video. I didn't know that Merck created that in Nazi Germany for the soldiers who were extremely violent and aggressive. Okay? My personality changed. I became aggressive. I wasn't violent, but I was what Dr. Peter Bregan termed perseverative in nature. There was an analogy later on that I would find out in one of his books of a zoo, large cat. I don't remember if it was a lion or a tiger. I think it was a tiger in a cage that was put on psychostimulant such as Adderall, and it would stay in one corner and stare focally at one object for hours at a time, which is not normal. Okay? And in some respects, that was me, in that when things needed attention at home, I was laser focused, but not like in a very productive way, not the loving husband that she married. I was aggressive. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know any of this. She had her own health issues that she was dealing with. Okay? So now, I used to see myself, after I learned about what the hell happened, I went back to Tony, and I had advised him that when he gave me that test, I was on 100 milligrams of Zoloft, and I believe that I was also going through serotonin syndrome, etc. And I believe that the testing diagnostic results of his quote-unquote ADHD test were misrepresented. He agreed, and he retracted his diagnosis. No, I don't have ADHD. I had since also gotten off of the antidepressants, which the way I got on those was a sham as well. But I will say this, for a 2.5-year period, I was on SSRIs, I was on NSSRIs, I was not on the atypicals ever, thank God. But as far as the psychostimulants, those that were quote unquote activating, those that were not, the same results. And finally, I said enough is pardon my language, enough was enough. And I stopped. Okay? And of course, my wife at the time didn't understand. Okay? She thought that I was not facing what I needed to face. Okay? Which couldn't have been further from the truth. I don't really want to get into all of that at this time. But I experienced withdrawal symptoms, not discontinuation. Okay? Discontinuation is a gaslighting term, okay, that companies like Merck and Pfizer use to get inside the heads and minds of those that were convinced to take those medications, and their families and caregivers, etc. That, oh, the reason why they're acting this way is because they're off their meds, which is bull. Okay? All right? And that's enough to scare a lot of people back on. Family pressure, peer pressure, etc. Not me. But back to Merck and Nazi Germany and soldiers, psychosis, etc. I'm going to confirm that that is a drug that does give you psychosis, makes you aggressive. And I certainly wasn't trying to go to war, especially not with my wife, my ex-wife, okay? But the pieces are still shattered. "21 years later." But it was that time period that is the reason that I did not allow myself to get the jab. Because that time period is when I lost trust in medicine. I will never 100% give my trust to a provider. I will always do my research. Like my life depends on it. HealthBot, continue to post your videos. I see you. Everybody else, a lot of people see you as well. Thank you.